What's up, everybody? This is Kurt Dimer, and you're watching Aftershocks TV. Peace and love.
All right. We're back here, Aftershocks TV. Matt and Tom with you guys. So on this segment now, we're gonna get into on every episode here going forward, everybody. We're always gonna bring a main sort of topic or discussion to the show. Something we're gonna kind of get deep into the weeds, about. We're gonna dig deep into something every episode here. And obviously, this one we're gonna bring up. It's not something that hasn't been out there for a little while. It's not something that nobody's talking about. Obviously, everybody's talking about this. But again, I think it's important to talk about because it's a huge band in rock and metal history, obviously. And that, of course, is Kiss. So, Tom, let's get into what's going on with Kiss. Everyone knows.
Fuck, what's not going on with Kiss? Nights and sit in service. I don't know, call it what you want, but the Kiss are this kind of band that, and I said this to earlier, Matt. I've when we're kind of getting ready for these shows, you do a little bit of research, you get a little sound bite from wherever. But this is literally just a discussion. I've got no notes, I got nothing, so I'm just going to go for it and go with the flow and see what happens. But obviously, Kiss are in the news right now. 2nd of December was their final show in MSG in New York. Madison Square Garden, and they told the world they're done, and they announced 60 seconds later we're back with Ava-Tour. So it's kind of going, what the fuck? So I don't know if that was a genius move or really, guys, I don't really know. I like to get into it a little bit, but so everything we're about to talk about in the next 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, I'm a huge Kiss fan. So everything I say is not, it's easy to take a bash of a band if you don't like him because you always had this thing that you didn't like or you went after them for whatever reason. So I'm a huge Kiss fan for many years, but everything I'm about to say about Kiss is not all lovey-dovey because I personally think Kiss should have fucked off 15 years ago, but they fucked off 2 weeks ago, and we're about to get into that as to kind of where they're at right now, the bullshit that's going on, because I see it as, quite frankly, BS with this Ava-Tour crap that they're doing.
Yeah, man. So, I would say for myself, I am a Kiss fan, I would say I'm huge. So, growing up, obviously, in New York City, Kiss was the local hometown band, They were the biggest band from the city. My dad was a huge Kiss fan. He had all the records. So I grew up on Kiss. Like I said, I was really into the stuff in the 80s, too, with makeup and no makeup. I was into all of it. Like yourself, though, there's a couple of things with Kiss. Like yourself, like a lot of, I'm with you. They probably should have, I'm not saying they should have stopped touring, but to me, just Kiss, like a lot of bands, that haven't put out really good music in a long time, it's, they're just, to me, Kiss is obviously just a nostalgic, legendary, just band, right?
Yeah.
My thing with Kiss is I'm with them now, sort of retiring, but not retiring with the Avatars. Look, I've been kind of, I don't want to say over Kiss, but I've just been over the discussion of Kiss for quite a while now. You know what I mean? Like I said, they have some great classic songs that are legendary that, that just, they've obviously made their stamp in rock and metal history. There's nothing else can be said about it, right?
No doubt.
But my thing is just, talking about Kiss, because unfortunately in the last, like you said, 15, 20 years of Kiss, it hasn't been about the music. It's been all about the bullshit around Kiss. It's been all about, Gene and Paul versus Peter and Ace and all that stuff, right? I mean, everyone knows it. We don't got to go into all the weeds of that, of course. But, so, now with their farewell, okay, no one's surprised, obviously, with the Avatars, right? Because they've been telegraphing for a long time, look, we want Kiss to continue even past our prime. Now, I think a lot of us thought to ourselves, all right, I guess they're going to do what? They're going to have, just other people dress up as the characters and just carry on the Kiss name and be sort of like Quiet Riot is, where you have no original members, but you're still out there touring. Maybe, Tommy Day is going to be out there with some other guys. Who knows, right? So now with the Avatar thing, all right, yeah, you know what, man? I'm sorry. I'm so over it, man. I'm so fucking over it. First of all, there's been so much discussion on Kiss over the last 10, 15 years that is driving me nuts. I was glad to see, okay, you're doing a farewell tour, great. Go out with a bang, great. And now with the Avatar stuff, it's like, all right, man. when is it going to end? That's my question, Tom. When's it going to fucking end, dude?
You see, the thing about Kiss is, you mentioned Quite Right super quick. Best Quite Right album is Quite Right 3 with Paul Chartino. Moving on quickly, but whatever. Check it out. But the thing about Kiss is that I saw Kiss 6 or 7 times over the years. I saw them in Donington, I think in 88. Maiden were on the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour. Kiss were second, and there was 107,000 people at that. I was 17. Okay. And Kiss came on stage, and I lost my fucking mind because I was a fan since 82-ish. And here was my heroes on stage, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and they were, I think it was a Crazy Nights tour. Okay. I'm guessing 88. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, late 80s, yeah. And but see, Kiss are the type of band where they're like, Bob's best video was Brand versus Brand versus Band. And the thing about Kiss are a bigger brand than they are a band. Yes. And let me explain that for a second, right? Because everybody thinks Kiss are this huge band like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. They're fucking not, right? They were never a stadium band. Now, they played stadiums, but they were never a stadium band. They played stadiums on the 1980 tour of Australia because they're huge down there. I worked in Australia many times, and Kiss come up in the conversation. They're genuinely a massive band. Obviously, the South America kind of Rock and Rio type things. But even Kiss in their heyday, back in arguably, say, 76 to 78, 79 maybe, was their biggest kind of, period of time. Love Gun going into Alive 2 and all that shit. But they did not play stadiums in the US. I've got a book upstairs and it shows you every tour. I'm the Kiss geek, by the way. So I'm saying this from a position of a love for the band. But they were never playing to 60,000 people a night. That never fucking happened. Never. They were playing 12, 14, 20,000 seat arenas. I get it. It's still a big band and a big draw for many years and a big money maker on the merchandise and shit we get out of that part. But they almost led you to believe that they were bigger than they were. They were never this big, huge stadium band. Look at them right now. They just played their final tour. Did they play any stadiums in the US? No, they fucking didn't. They played arenas. 20,000 people a night. I mean, Maiden are playing arenas in their sleep. I mean, they don't have to do final tours to fill arenas. And I think the thing with Kiss is, first of all, they're just getting old, right? They can do nothing about that. But they don't add value to any show anymore because they play the same set list, the same, here's Gene with the blood. Oh, here's Tommy with the shooting, whatever. Oh, here's the drum wires are coming up. Oh, here's
same old. Yeah.
Here's the guitar for, rock and roll all night, whatever. So there was nothing to add. So they just did the circuit too many times. And I think that they're just done. Their music over the last couple of years has been decent, not phenomenal, but decent. Released the last couple of albums since Sonic Boom onwards, but they should have left years ago. Paul Stanley's voice is so bad. It's just like so bad. We're never going to get him on, so we don't care. We can say whatever we want. I hope I don't fuck up future guests, by the way, because sometimes I just go for it. But
just go for it, man.
But even when he said at the end of the tour, and he was like, "The people, you have made us immortal." I'm going, "Fuck, shut the fuck up!
I know, man.
Stop. Just count your money. Go to a beach in Tahiti, drink cocktails, do what you need to do. Just fuck off." That's all I got.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to second pretty much everything you said. There's really nothing there that you said that I don't agree with. For one, I mean, yes, you're right. They didn't play stadiums. You know what I mean? I mean, yes, and there's nothing wrong with selling out arenas. That's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but you're right. They're not the Beatles. They're not Rolling Stones. They're not Led Zeppelin. Never. They're not. They're musically. I mean, like everyone knows. Okay, like you said, it's a band versus brand thing. I mean, the best, I think most people will agree that the best musician the band ever had, that was in the band ever, was Ace Frehley, right? But even Ace is as good as a guitarist he wasn't some groundbreaking guitarist. No. You know what I mean?
He was a lazy fuck. That's what he was. He was a lazy fuck when he had the talent. He was just too lazy, and he liked the booze and all that.
He liked the booze and the drugs. Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yep.
So, like I said, he's obviously, yes. Yeah, I mean, he definitely inspired a lot of guitar players. I'm not going to say he didn't because of just what Kiss was. He did. I mean, he had a lot of guitar players. Yeah, exactly. They I mean, Ace was their guy. A lot of them say that. But like you said, they weren't groundbreaking musically. Like you said, it was the brand. It was always about the marketing and the branding and the business with Kiss. I mean, everyone knows that. That's no, I think, secret. Paul, I mean, let's be honest. Paul, I mean, he barely even played the guitar. Gene, we all know about bass. I'm a bass guitarist, and I'm not saying I do think sometimes people bag on him too much. He's sort of the Lars.
Sure.
He's like the Lars of bassists, Gene Simmons. You know what I mean? They bag on him, I think, a little too much.
Right.
I don't think he's that awful as everyone says, but let's be honest, he's definitely, once again, he's not a groundbreaking guy who did anything different. Peter, same thing, right? Just a decent drummer, nothing out of the ordinary. Like I said, we all understand what Kiss meant, especially in the 70s to a lot of kids. It's like, I didn't grow up in the 70s. I guess I was more of an 80s guy. So to me, when I look about my bands that like inspired me with like their outfits and their presentation, everything, like Motley Crue was sort of the 80s versions of Kiss, at least for a little bit they were trying to be.
Sure.
And so I get that. I get that how inspired kids when you're young and you see that, it's like, yeah, I mean, shit, these guys are unbelievable. This is something we've never seen before, But in terms of musically, even their greatest songs, I just don't think are great songs. I think they're good songs. I think they're catchy. They're poppy. They got great hooks. But, these aren't these aren't great songs where I'm like, oh, shit, man, I don't know how they put that together. Look, they were, like I said, a very inspirational band, like you said, because of their brand. I don't think there's anything musically that's inspired. I don't see anyone going like, yeah, man, I mean, Kiss is the reason why I am the guitar player I am, or I'm the drummer I am, or whatever it is. It's not. I mean,
sure.
It might have inspired them to get into rock or metal, but they wasn't like that was it. That was the be all end all of musicianship. So between, like once again, I've been saying it for years, like we used to have this thing, me and Chris Aiken about Aftershocks, and just speaking of the show. One band we never really talked about, we weren't going to, was Kiss. Bob, obviously did it with Skull Sessions. Don't talk about Kiss because everyone's talked about Kiss. It's just been done already, right? We all know who they are, what they stand for. And to me, like you said, I just wanted to finish. This Ava-Tour shit is just, like I'm not surprised by it. We all know that. We know Gene, we know Paul, what they're all about. It's all about, it's all about just profiting. It's all about keeping the machine going. They want to keep their legacy going, but I don't think this is going to do anything to help their legacy. If anything, I think it's going to diminish it and dilute it. You know what I mean? Is my opinion.
But I think they've already diminished and diluted the brand anyway.
Yeah.
Gene Simmons said for years, we never want to be that band that stays too long at the party. Oh, whatever the fuck. And they were the band that exactly did that. Because, and I don't even think it's always about money, right? Some people are going to say it's of course about money. Yes, it is to a certain degree, but like rock musicians, rock stars who are heroes to millions of narcissists, they need that constant feed. They need to be on stage. If you give Paul Stanley the option of being on, in front of 20,000 people singing Love Gun, flying out over the audience, or sitting on a beach in Tahiti, what's he going to pick? He can do whatever he wants. He's going to pick the adulation. They don't know what else to be. These guys, I mean, they're 71, 72, I don't know, whatever they are. They're millionaires since probably 1975. Maybe 77, 78 when they started to get some money in. So they're millionaires since like the mid-70s. So are they still really doing, if Gene Simmons is worth $300-400 million and he gets an additional $50 million dumped in his bank account at the end of the tour, is his life going to change any? No, it's not. However, I'm not saying he's not just doing it for the music, but I think it's just that narcissistic rock star needs to be fed that. And the one thing about Kiss is, if you look at, just talking about the four original members, they're all fucking douchebags. Peter Criss is a total, they're fucking douchebags. Peter Criss is just a whiny little bitch, right? Because he's always the victim, and always like he felt left out and nobody spoke to me and I didn't sing on enough tracks, whatever. This is the same guy in the mid-1970s who was a multi-millionaire, had cocaine, chicks, limousines, you name it, coming out of his ass, and it wasn't good enough. Ace Frehley is, in my opinion, I know you said something different, I think he's the most overrated guitar player of all time. Preface again, I'm a Kiss fan. He just got lucky. He's just a sloppy guitar player, never practiced, got lazy, so fucking lazy they had to bring in Bob Kulig, I think, on the Alive 2, the side 4 of the studio tracks, because he was in the other studio drinking vodka. He just bothers his ass to walk 10 feet. Again, a whiny bitch who released a book a couple of years ago. Who could read one word of that and say, do you remember that, Ace? No, Ace is sober for what, 10 years or something? God bless him for that. I'm just talking about the 70s here. I'm not dissing the guy. I'm dissing for what he was. And so that's Ace. Again, a lazy fuck, just very ungrateful. Paul Stanley is. Don't get me started on him. He was my favorite member of Kiss for years, and just in the last couple of years, he's just become a complete douchebag, and all his politics, and he's this and getting involved in shit that he shouldn't be. Nobody cares, Paul. Nobody fucking cares what you have to say. But the one person I think that Gene Simmons, he's kind of a little bit of like Donald Trump, and I don't mean that from a political standpoint. I think he just says shit and throws in bombs knowing there's going to be a reaction, but he doesn't believe his own bullshit. Not in every case. Paul Stanley believes his own bullshit. I think Gene Simmons just kind of plays with the press a little bit. So first of all, they're 4 douchebags, but I love them. But I just think that, whatever. But I just think that, like, enough already. I don't think anybody, if Kiss, I saw him 3 or 4 years ago in Jersey when I lived there, so probably 4 years. I think that was the farewell tour, if I'm not mistaken. And it was a great concert, but it was, whatever. But if the Ava-Tours come through town, like, who's going to see that? I'm a Kiss fan. I'm not going to see it. New people who hear about maybe the phenomenon of Kiss, they're not going to go see it because they don't know what it is. Who's it going to attract? And even if it does get popular for one tour, they got a lifespan of one tour and they're out. They're done. It's like the Dio hologram. One time, you're not going to go again.
I agree with you. There's no way that can keep up. And yes, the people will go. You got those Kiss Army people who, I mean, Kiss is everything to them. And still to this day, Kiss. Right. I mean, it's hey, everyone, they're each their own, man. I don't want to it's art, man. Everyone's it's subjective. Everyone has their, what they love. And I understand that Kiss meant a lot to people in their youth.
Sure.
And I get it. I do. But listen, there's bands that mean a lot to me in my youth. Would I go, like I said, Dio was one of the first, people that got me in a metal was those early Dio records. And the same thing. Yes. Would I go and see? No, like you said, it was a one tour thing.
Nope.
It's strange. It's weird. It's odd. It's not real. It's like you're just watching a movie. It's silly.
It's unnecessary. Your legacy is so intact. Leave it be. You've made your mark. Let it be. Just let it be.
Well, I think you made a great point, though. You got guys like Gene and Paul, okay? Like you said, these guys don't drink. They don't do drugs or nothing, right? Their vice, like you said, is their ego being fed, that adulation. And that's why they needed to still do it until, the early 70s and stuff. And I think, like you said, I mean, listen, it's a lot of these bands. I mean, the Rolling Stones are coming back. I mean, look, I hate to say it, when you get to your 70s, to me, when I saw the Who play the Super Bowl, and 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was.
Sure.
That was when I was like, whoa, you see, I don't want to see, listen, I don't want to see guys, no offense, unless they can still do it, which most of them can't, but a lot of guys, if you're in your 70s, if you can't move around a little bit still, if you can't, stop. I mean, that's it. You just got to stop. You got to know when to say when. I even
don't be Phil Collins. Don't
exactly sitting in a wheelchair singing or something. I mean, come on, man.
God damn.
I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of John Fogerty, Creedence, right? I just saw him last year, live in Vegas, and I'd seen him about 10 years ago, and he was in his 60s, running around he was amazing, and I'm like, oh, I'll always go see him. So I saw him last year. He's now 70 or whatever, 71, and he looked it and he sounded like it. He's he's done. Like, I mean, he was up there with his kids. He looks like an old grandpa, and it's like, I can't. And then I was glad to see him one more time, but that's it. I will never see him again because it's just not the same. I don't want to see someone sounding like a grandpa and trying to move like he could, but he can barely, his creaky old knees and legs. It's like, you got to know when to say when, man. And I Kiss, like, I think they'd be like, well, we did know when to say when. That's why we're stopping now. But stop it with the Avatar shit, man. I mean, just stop with any of this AI technology shit. With just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm glad they're gone, man. I'm glad Kiss is done. I hope I hope I never hear or see them really again, except for when I put on their music and then I get enjoyment out of reminiscing when I was a kid, in the car, listening to them as a little kid. What I mean, grew up with my dad, or going and putting on their vinyl records, the old classic records, when they had their makeup and so forth. Like I said, leave it in peace. Let people remember you that way. It's the ego that keeps these guys, which, this Avatar shit. It's just nonsense, man. And, so that's my 2 cents. It's your 2 cents on this Kiss shit.
Hey, Matt, look, my backdrop is Kiss. I mean, look, this is how much I love this band, but stop already,
Exactly. And I love hearing it from guys, like you said, that are huge fans saying it, because these Kiss geeks and nerds with, nothing's good without Kiss. Just stop it already. There's a gazillion bands. And look, it's going to get to a point soon where bands like Metallica and like that too, man. That's coming. You know what I mean? If they're up there and they're like, Lars has got to slow down his drumming now. Look, you can't play those old songs. Then don't play them. Or just say, hey, we're going to play all the '90s stuff. Because be honest with the fans, we can't play the old shit. Or we'll play some of the more mid-tempo classic, older songs that they had. But again,
you know what, Matt? It's not just Kiss though. I mean, like, there's a I mean, look, we know about the final tours. Priest have done it. The Eagles have done it. Whatever. Everybody's done it.
Sure, yeah.
Come on, you could go on about. You could talk about that as a whole segment. But conversely, but then you got other bands who can still do it. Look at Maiden. Obviously, they're younger. I mean, Maiden, they're in the 60s right now, and they're selling out arenas and stadiums in South America. They're selling out soccer stadiums in South America. That's 60, 70,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, they're not ready to stop. And I think they're a band with integrity, that they know that if Bruce couldn't do the notes anymore, or Steve couldn't jump around, they would actually, and Rod Small would go, you know what, guys? We're not doing this.
Yeah.
And Rush, look at Rush a couple of years ago when they were on their final tour. I saw that in Madison Square Garden, probably the single best gig I've ever seen. I had no idea I was looking at the Rush final tour, because they said nothing. They finished the final one. Obviously, Neil Peart got sick and we died, but that was their final tour. They knew it and said nothing. And I remember reading a quote a couple of years ago from Robert Plant, and Robert Plant does an interview, and every single person says, "Well, when are you going to read Led Zeppelin?" And he just said, well, I can't compete with a 26-year-old me, so why would I do it? That was the best answer I've ever heard.
That's a great answer, yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. Well, it made him, like you said, you're right. I think the word that you just used, integrity. And that's the key. It's like, if you want, like you said, your legacy is already set. All I think you're going to do by continuing, it's sort of like what we see with a lot, like, that you hear a lot about these guys like Vince Neil and Don Doc, and these guys that just can't sing anymore. You're really hurting your legacy. I don't care what you say. Now, if you're doing it for the money, you don't give a shit about your legacy. Okay, that's one thing. Then go ahead and do it. If money means more to you than integrity,
sure.
Okay, well then you're also showing to a lot of people your sort of your character. I mean, do you really need more money, or do you really need it? Does Vince Neil need more money? I don't think so. Now at the same time, we could also, and not to get too much longer on this, but we could also say at the same time, though, well, if you think about it, if fans are willing to shell out that money and go see it, and they want it,
keep playing.
They'll keep doing it. I think a lot of these guys, and maybe the Kiss guys or the Don Dockins, all those guys, Vince Neils, are saying, well, yeah, I know I'm losing my skills here. I'm losing it, but everybody still wants to see me. So why, if I'm going to sell out, gigs, and if I'm going to get paid or whatever, why would I say no to it if people still want to see me play? So in a lot of ways, it's the fans really they're the ones that are having these guys still do this shit. Because think about it, they're not going to do it unless people are going to go. They're not going to do it. But if they are going to go,
it's basic economics. It's supply and demand.
It is supply and demand. Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. It can guarantee you that if Kiss were, pitching arenas and they were filling 4,000 seats in an arena, they would have stopped doing this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And the same with Doc. And, obviously Don, I met Don actually a couple of years ago, super guy. And I don't get backstage that often, so I'm not that guy either. I was just so thrilled to do it. But Don, Dawkins' latest release is a great album, but let's be honest, we can't fluff it up. Don's voice is fucked. It is what it is. There's no way to pitch it. I'm a huge Don Dokken fan. His solo stuff is, Don the band, and I met him, huge fan, but just gotta stop, dude. And then Vince Neil hasn't been able to string two sentences together since fucking mid-90s. That he's just an idiot. I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, I was never really big. I never thought he had a great voice anyway, but that's another topic for another time, obviously. But yeah, man, I'm with you, but at the same time, like we said, if it's supply demand, if fans want to keep paying, we'll see about this Ava-Tour thing, man. I mean, it's going to it's at least going to have one tour where it's going to sell fine. Now it depends on after that what's going to happen. That's anyone's guess. Hopefully.
Yeah, but what's going to happen, Matt? Like, I'm going to see that. I don't know what this looks like live. I don't know if it's like 3D images or screens or whatever. And I'm going, fuck that. And then they're going to come to Charlotte, going to go, how much are the tickets?
See?
So
you're already sick.
I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But listen, but first of all, I'm saying I'm not going. And I say that for a lot of bands, actually. I say I'm not going to see particular bands. And then I look at the ticket price. I go, oh, goddamn, that might be decent. I'll give it a shot for that. But who knows?
Yeah. So the jury's still out. We'll still have to see if Tom goes and sees the Avatars in Charlotte.
I'm saying I'm not going to do
wait.
it, but I'll do it Chris Aiken. Chris said he wasn't going to go and see Metallica, and he did. And he said that for a year. And I go, Chris, fuck off. You're totally going to see Metallica, and he did. So I'll do a full circle.
Yeah.
If I got to come back and eat my words, I'll do it.
If you got to eat shit, you got to eat shit. Exactly. So
that's
it is what it is, but that's it. But all right, man. Yeah. So enough of the Avatars. But we do, like you said, you're a huge Kiss fan. I grew up a Kiss fan. Definitely. I had a lot of records. Like I said, I was a pretty solid fan. So in that, we don't want to leave, this at a sour note with Kiss, because we do like them, and we do like their legacy.
Let's be nice.
Yes, let's be nice. What we're going to do here, but what we'll do, and we do this down every episode, is we're going to do it, our end of the episode here. We're going to wrap it up. Just talk about what shows we're going to see, blah blah blah, and then we're also going to do what's called the last question. Okay, and so our last question for today, keeping with Kiss Day, is we're going to piss. Look at me. We're going to pick our favorite Kiss album with makeup and without makeup, because there are two, Mach 1 and Mach 2 sort of thing of Kiss. And so we're going to pick our favorite Kiss album from each era there. Makeup, no makeup. Tom, let's start. Go ahead. Give us your favorite album, makeup, then no makeup.
Makeup is the first album, 1974. They ran from 74 to 1982. I think it was Creatures. That was the kind of the breadth of the makeup years. And the first thing about the Kiss album, the first album, is production is pretty shitty. We get that. They had no money back then. They were nobodies. But if you look at just the quality of the songs that are on that album, and I even wrote them down, not that I need to, but like Strutter, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Jews, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond, you could go on for years. Sure. Even up to their final tour, a couple of weeks ago, they played 4 songs off the first album 50 years later. So I just think the quality of those songs are so good, it has to be the first. So go back to you, Matt, for the makeup years, and I'll circle back for the non-makeup.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Strutter is still, I think, the best Kiss song ever. I think it's just the best. I just, still to this day, I just think it's a great song. But for me, my favorite, Kiss record with makeup is Destroyer. Kiss Destroyer.
Okay.
It was the first record. My older brother, we were very close. He's about a year older than me. It was the first record he ever bought, he ever had. So it was Kiss Destroyer. So we listened to that thing nonstop. Obviously, there's a bunch of classics on that one. Of course, Detroit Rock City. Beth, which is I'm not a Beth fan, by the way. I don't like that song, but it's on there. It's one of their biggest hits, obviously. Shout It Out Loud. Great. Do You Love Me? God of Thunder. You can go, like I said, Kiss Destroyer. Yeah, my favorite Kiss album with makeup. Okay, no makeup.
Lick It Up. The reason I say Lick It Up is that think about where they came from. Lick It Up. So like from they were going through Rock and Roll Over. You got Love Gone. You got Alive 2, double platinum, which I think went double platinum. So that was like the glory years for Kiss. And then they went into Dynasty. I Was Made for Loving You, still doing well, selling out arenas. And then obviously Unmasked hit, and I think it was the first album in X amount of years not to go platinum, went gold. And then The Elder hit. I think The Elder is actually quite a decent album, but that's a whole other conversation.
Sure.
There's only one bad song, and that's Odyssey, which is the shitty Paul Stanley song. The rest are actually quite decent songs.
Yeah, it's a good song. Yeah, it's a good record, man.
Got to give some Elder love, people. But Creatures, I think they came back with a statement on Creatures, because they said, okay, we've fucking lost it. We've lost our fans. We became a cartoon band. We tried the concept album with Bob Ezrin on The Elder. Clearly didn't work. People just said no, walked away, lost the tours, everything. Creatures is a fucking phenomenal album. I could have picked that in a heartbeat. That was a disaster of a tour. I think it was canceled early, or they didn't sell out, whatever. And then they came back with Lick It Up in 83, took the makeup off, and they just gave them a whole new energy. The production is awesome. The songs are phenomenal. Eric Carr was really coming into his own on that one too. So, Peter Criss was kind of more jazzy, great for Love Gun, Rock and Roll Over, but this was like borderline metal album. When you see Fits Like a Glove and songs like that, it's a fucking great album. And I think it was their first album to hit platinum. Not that I think it went gold in its first year or two. It hit platinum eventually, but it kind of brought them back on track. And I think it was the foundation for like Creatures, Lick It Up, let me get the sequence right. Animalize, Asylum, like that. They were kind of at the second glory years, you know, before they went shitty, Game and Hot in the Shade and stuff. But I think that concept, those 4 albums over that 5 years, that was just incredible non-makeup. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to go Lick It Up all day.
Yeah, I Lick It Up's a great record, absolutely. But you know, my favorite one without makeup is Asylum. I'm a big fan of Asylum.
Sure.
I know not a lot of people
2.
are. It is okay, good. So yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, yeah, I mean, I just remember, obviously, just you know, when I first heard, you know, Tears Are Falling, you know, I was just like, this is a great song. I love that song, you know, and obviously,
not the video with all the makeup shit.
Oh yeah, no,
the big pink gown and shit.
Terrible video. I mean, that was like kind of like that Billy Squire video thing, and that whole
that ruined his career
stuff. Oh, it did exactly. I mean, luckily Kiss already had it.
I love Billy Squire, but fuck me, that's
so do I. That was a horrible video. Walking around like I don't want to get too much into it, but bad stuff. But yeah, Kiss Asylum, obviously, you know, what's it called? Bruce Kulick, obviously, on guitar. Great songs in All Night. You know, any way you slice it. I mean, I just great song. Great song. Radar for Love. Yeah, I'm just the that was out of all the records. Like I said, that and Lick It Up were my two. I think you said Animalize too. I mean, that era, that era right there was just, I think, very, you know, when you talk about Kiss, no one really talks about too much that era. You know, those albums, those early 80s albums, you know.
Actually, funny thing on Animalize is that Animalize, and I think my stats are right, but Animalize, I think, hit about 2 million. So Animalize was, I think, their biggest selling. But again, they were getting the bump from Lick It Up and the hit song, Lick It Up, whatever. But the only downside on Animalize is Mark St. John, you know, obviously he died, but his guitar playing was too fast. It was too fast for Kiss. It was too shreddy.
Yeah.
You don't do that in Kiss.
True.
Vinnie Vincent, not that Vinnie Vincent did it on the albums, but he certainly did it live. And he was, you know, Paul Stanley was at the side of the stage going, get the fuck off, whatever. So Kiss are not that band. Kiss are not Dream Theater. They don't need 6-minute guitar solos. So, and I think that's the only thing wrong with Animalize. The guitar solos are too fast. Even though the songs are fast, a little bit unnecessary. But hey, Mark St. John is not here to defend himself. So
he's not. Heaven's on Fire. Still, that's one of my probably
great
top 10 Kisses
great
songs still. Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, he definitely made his mark there. Yeah. I just, like I said, out of all the Kiss era, like I said, probably because that was when I was in my little sweet spot, getting into all this stuff as a youngster.
Sure.
At that point, you know, with those records and stuff. But yeah, that was the era too. You had one record every year that came out. Those records too. You know, back to back.
Yep.
You know, sort of like the 70s and stuff. So Kiss were, they were still on fire back then. And great era. But yeah, so Asylum for me and Lick It Up for you. Fantastic. All right.
And just one more thing, Matt, just before we wrap it, is that, you know, a lot of those albums in the, again, going back to what I said earlier, Kiss kind of, you know, pretending they were bigger than they were. Kiss sold about 2 million, like I said, on Animalize. Lick It Up is about 1 million. Asylum is 1 million, or 1.2, whatever it was. Like Rat were selling 3 million easy. Dokken were selling 2 million easy.
Yeah.
Kiss were kind of in there with Kicks and bands like that were just reaching platinum. But again, it was all the branding kind of led you to believe they were bigger than they were. They were never as big as people even today think they are.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, great albums, but they never got back to where they were in 77, 78. They tried, and then they followed trends with the grunge shitty with the, you know, that album Revenge was a great kind of comeback to a start, but then they just got kind of shitty again. But listen, they're a band that we can have a podcast per week on Kiss and not for their content. They're the band that keeps on giving. But
and there's no, I was going to say there are already like a ton of podcasts on Kiss out there, right?
Oh, jeez.
So it's like
I
can't. Like I said, I'd like to have a quick discussion of Kiss, like we're doing, a half hour, whatever. I can't sit there and podcast at the podcast, listen to Kiss.
No,
I mean,
and we don't need to do it again for future shows. We're all kissed out now. That's it.
I will say this. I think we can safely say, ladies and gentlemen, this will be it for Kiss for me and Tom.
That's it. We're done.
All right, so let's get ready to wrap it up, Tom. So before we go, though, I mean, what you got coming? Any shows you got lined up? Any happenings going on with down in Charlotte?
I do. I got. Let me see what's coming. I'm trying to think about this now. So I know I've got Tool coming up in January. Huge Tool fan. You know, Tool are the biggest underground brand on the planet. They play 20,000 seats arenas, and nobody kind of knows who they are. They're kind of an enigma, a little bit like Rush, I guess. Obviously, we talked about Sammy Hagar earlier. I got tickets for the Maiden Tour, which is November next year. Judas Priest are coming back through town. Thinking, I can't remember the dates actually. I just buy the tickets. I forget when they're on.
Sure.
Priest and Sabaton, which I quite frankly don't know much about. Maybe I should investigate them a little bit. But I know the guy wears all the gear in front. The
Yeah, that's symphonic metal, if that's your thing.
The Mohawk.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not really sure. I don't know much about him, to be honest. And
Okay.
I think about one or two others. I can't remember. I've got about maybe 4 or 5. Oh, I forgot. Adrian Vandenberg,
cool.
and Jeff Tate in February coming through.
Oh, very nice. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, over here, there's not most of the stuff's going to start hitting around the spring, you know, March area.
Right.
You know, like I said, I'm going to check out that Prong Voivod show in March.
Sure.
There's a festival here up in May that we'll probably talk about a little bit on the next episode. It's a bit of a thrash, you know, 90s thrash sort of, with a couple of older, you know, some 80s bands. And like I said, we'll talk about that on the next show because I want to
keep that
get into a discussion on. Yeah. But yeah, you know, really this time of year, usually, especially out here, there's not much going on in the winter, right? It starts prepping up around March, and then of course hits hard into the spring and then the summer and stuff. So next few months, got to really focus on what we're doing here with Aftershocks and get all this going with the CMS network. But I mean, there's things pop up. You know, it's interesting here in the Bay Area. You know, it's one of those things. You know, where there's shows, of course, but you know, it's interesting when a lot of bands that come through town or through the Bay Area. A lot of them decide to go and play in Sacramento. Now, Sacramento is about an hour and a half from where I am here. So, you know, they've been skipping a lot of the Bay because right now, you know, San Francisco, you know, bands are pulling into San Francisco, getting their gear stolen left and right. You know, so a lot of bands, it's really bad between San Francisco and Oakland right now. It's not a good, you know, it's not good. A lot of bands are not coming here. Unfortunately, a lot of fans aren't going to the shows. Because it's just dangerous, man. You know what I mean? It's just
it's bad. I read it. I read the headlines. Yeah, it's looking pretty poor.
It is, man. It's unfortunate. So a lot of bands are choosing to play in Sacramento instead, which is a lot better. But there is a good venue a little east Oakland here called the Concord Amphitheater, and that's where like Sammy Hagar is going to be playing in the summer. A lot of metal bands play, and Maiden plays there a lot.
I got 3 gigs that I'm considering. And again, Lita Ford is coming. I'm not a huge Lita Ford fan, but she's not too far away. Could be just. I always look at a band work, but I don't have to be a huge fan. I'm just thinking it's not too far away. A couple of beers Saturday night. Why not go and see?
Sure. Yeah.
I think the drummer from Vinnie Vincent. I said what was the big guy? Fuck, I read his book. I can't remember his name. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think he's playing drums with her. He used to. And then Quiet Riot is coming through, but I don't know who's in. Is Jizzy Pearl singing with them? I don't even know. I know
she is.
Rudy Sarso.
Yep. Yeah.
I know Rudy Sarso is there. Again, it's not the original Quiet Riot. And then
Johnny Kelly's on
coming through town. That's right, Johnny Kelly, New Jersey. Yeah. That's right. And then Warren are coming through town with Robert Mason. So that might be a decent. Again, I see this as I don't have to be an uber fan of any band, but if it's not too far away, ticket price are reasonable. I can have a couple of beers on the Saturday night. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic, man. Well, enjoy those shows when they come, and we'll talk more about them on our next episodes. Obviously, we got a lot coming up. All right, man. Well, Tom, again, man, great having you on board Aftershocks. Great time, great discussions. Can't wait to do more of these. And so everyone stay tuned next week to Aftershocks TV Weekly. We'll see everyone next time. Take care.